It is a furious debate that rages on watch subreddits, forums, and comment sections. Quartz versus mechanical. What is better? The emotional pull of a mechanical watch that tells the time poorly, or the sterile accuracy of a quartz watch that actually does the job? I think I've got a way to settle this once and for all, though. Welcome to Doug's Watches, the thinking watch channel. Here I like to talk art, design, history, theory, philosophy, and how they all relate to the world of watches. And if that sounds good to you, do make sure to like and subscribe. So we've all seen some video at some point going through the pros and cons of quartz and automatic movements. At some point, the video hit you with a poetic paragraph on why quartz watches are just as beautiful and emotional and impressive as a mechanical one, and in doing so, reminded you that an awful lot of the watch world is just marketing spin. But this is Doug's Watches, and I like to overthink watches properly here, so today I will not be doing this. Remember what I said about philosophy in the hook of the video? Well, today I actually mean it. I'm going through some of our most influential philosophies ever and applying them to quartz and mechanical watches. For each philosophy, I'll award the winning movement a point, and at the end of it, we'll be able to decide which is actually best, once and for all. It's my first video of this type, and if you think I might be onto something, make sure to like the video and maybe leave a comment on what great watch debates you think we could settle in this way. Right, first, Aristotle taught that everything has a telos, a purpose. A knife cuts, a heart pumps. A watch tells the time. By that logic, quartz wins. It is more accurate, more dependable. But maybe the purpose of a watch isn't just telling time, but telling it beautifully. Then mechanical has a case. However, today I'm going to argue against this. The beauty of a mechanical watch comes from the great lengths we go to try to replicate the accuracy and functionality of a quartz or digital watch. A mechanical split-seconds chronograph is a damn expensive thing because of the engineering behind it, trying to match what Casio can do for basically nothing. We also put massive weight behind certifications such as COSC and METAS because accuracy is valuable. So the purpose of a watch is to tell time. The beauty is a consequence of this, and this accuracy is king, and you can't really beat quartz for this. Even your cheapest quartz watches will be regulated to 20 or 25 seconds a month, comparable to the accuracy of a Seiko over a day. So, 1 point to quartz. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, believed in focusing on only what we can control. Quartz gives peace of mind, it works, always no fuss. A mechanical watch, it needs winding, care, and sometimes repair. A Stoic might ask, does your watch serve your tranquility or disturb it? With a quartz watch needing nothing more than a battery change every few years, something that takes but a few minutes and even you can do it, not a talented watchmaker, there's no need to send your favourite timekeeping device off to deepest, darkest Switzerland for a few months. So I think the Stoics would give a point to the quartz watch. Less fuss, less distraction. It's really not looking great for the old mechanical watch here. For Sartre and Camus, life has no present meaning. You choose your own. Quartz might be conformity, mass-produced, anonymous, perhaps even the obvious and correct choice. Mechanical watches, though, are rebellion. You are picking the old way, defiant of progress. You're asserting yourself against a modern way of life and living authentically to your tastes. Your choice reveals not which is better, but who you are. And as we all know, quartz, while there are different grades to these movements, after all, the caliber 1210 quartz movement in an FB Journe Elegant is incredibly different to what you'll find in a Grand Seiko Snowflake spring drive, and that very different to the dirt-cheap movement found in a Casio MTP 1302. The level of choice and authentic expression a quartz watch allows is not as wide as that in a mechanical watch. You've got complications, you've got escapements, you've got display casebacks, case materials, need I go on. You can find your real representation with a mechanical watch, so I think that's finally 1 point for the mechanical watch. Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill measured value in happiness, or the idea of the greatest good. And while you might think that putting on your Rolex Submariner brings joy to all those around you, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, it does not. The harsh reality is outside of the watch world, very few people care what's on your wrist. The actual impact of your chosen wrist jewelry that day is minimal, and often inaccessible to the masses. Yet on the other hand, quartz is cheap, accurate, and accessible to millions in everything from Casio to Pulsar to Seconda to Timex. It maximizes benefit for the greatest number of people. Mechanical? Well, that's a luxury for the few. From a utilitarian lens, quartz is the people's champion because it is the watch that the people can have. So, another point to the quartz watch. Kant said morality is about duty, not outcomes. So how accurate your watch is no longer matters. It's about the overall process and what that involves. So if we turn to the cheap quartz watches, well, they can only be so cheap as they can be made en masse, with minimal labour and largely by machines. This facilitates their greater economies of scale and thus decreased price. Mechanical watches honour the duty of the craftsman, hundreds of tiny parts, often assembled by human skill and hand. Quartz, while practical, might neglect that moral respect for human artistry and employment. A Kantian then might see the mechanical watch as the ethical choice because we're paying for that extra labour time. And within a capitalist society where individuals need to work to be able to survive, surely the most morally virtuous thing is to make jobs for people. So, 1 point for the mechanical watch. Right then, the halfway point. We have 3 points to the quartz watch and only 2 to the mechanical. Nihilism and Nietzsche. Nietzsche flirted with nihilism, the idea that nothing has inherent value. Quartz, mechanical, who cares? Time itself is a construct, and if nothing matters, your watch is just jewellery. However, there was a pretty big idea within the work of Nietzsche, that of the Übermensch, which he came up with in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Now, the Übermensch acts as a vision of what humanity could be, people in control of their own life who say yes to every opportunity that they can and enjoy who they really are. And as I've already discussed through Existentialism, a philosophy that does often overlap with Nietzsche and nihilism, through mechanical watches you're able to fully indulge yourself and have nearly every single one of your whims catered for. There's another point then for the mechanical watch. It is the choice of the Übermensch. Romanticism. Romantics like Rousseau and Goethe rejected cold rationality for beauty and feeling. And I can tell you already, I know where this is going, so I'll spare you the overly romantic poetic session. But mechanical watches are alive. Put your ear to your watch and you'll hear that little escapement flicking away. Think about the history of the greatest mechanical watches ever, and they've been as high as the moon and as low as the Mariana Trench. Quartz, too sterile, too mathematical. The romantic wants poetry on their wrist, not a calculator. And in the case of watches like the calculator watch, that is exactly what they are. So, 1 more point going to the mechanical watch. I think that steps them into the lead as well. William James and John Dewey argued truth is what works in practice. Quartz works for most people. Durable, accurate, affordable, and we do now finally need to talk about the Quartz Crisis. Why did the Quartz Crisis cause a crisis for the mechanical watchmaking industry? Well, because for the vast majority of people, so the vast majority of people that might buy watches, they wanted the benefits of a quartz watch. So they wanted to say goodbye to winding, goodbye to shock resistance issues, and goodbye to servicing. So, 1 more point for the quartz watch. Postmodernism then, the watch as a sign. Foucault and Baudrillard argued meaning is constructed, not fixed. A watch isn't about telling time, your phone does that better, thus it is a sign, it is a story. Quartz signals practicality, and that's about it. Mechanical, though, signals heritage and artistry and taste. Neither is true, both performances are part of an identity, but you can go much further with constructing a meaning with a mechanical watch than you can a quartz one. And if we're looking for something to construct meaning with, I'd say the mechanical watch really is the only way to go about it. And the entire industry really has tried to do this. Whether that's building a mythos around particular models and what people have done wearing them like Jacques Cousteau and the Submariner, or particular movements like the Hoyer 11 and Rolex 3135, or creating stories for how these brands continued throughout the Quartz Crisis, well, it's mechanical all the way. Now, Foucault and Baudrillard might not have sought to maximise the amount of meaning constructed around anything. However, I think we need to give 1 more point to the mechanical watch as a result of being able to do this most successfully. As after all, in contemporary society, aren't we all constantly trying to scramble for meaning? So going into the final round, we have 4 points for the quartz watch and 5 points for the mechanical watch. It could be a dead heat. Zen masters like Dogen remind us, don't mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself. A watch isn't time, it's just a reminder of it. We can spin this in both ways. Quartz gives simplicity that might enable one to remain more focused on what's going on in time as opposed to the passage of it by getting wrapped up in your sweeping seconds hand. In other words, you can remain more present with a quartz watch, not distracted by the artistry and marketing and the feeling. But the mechanical watch, it's different. The mechanical watch, I believe, connects you to your fellow man more and reminds you of the value of time, not just because of the fact that these have a more human, labouring element to them, but because of the history and stories that they hold. There's also a Zen-like tranquil quality that a sweeping second-hand provides that we must never forget. I think you feel more connected to the world and people through a mechanical watch because of how human a modern mechanical watch is. We have made the mechanical watch technically obsolete, and yet we continue to work at it and strive to make these little machines even better. And that is incredibly human. So that puts one more point in my eyes towards the mechanical watch, meaning the mechanical watch is better than the quartz watch. And that, to be honest, is not the result I was expecting. I have long come to the conclusion that the quartz watch is technically better. However, when you consider everything else going on, not just beneath the dial, but beneath our skin, there are more reasons to have a mechanical watch than a quartz one. As ever, thanks for watching. If you like my work, do consider becoming a channel member. You'll get an extra video every month and a few other perks. If not, remember to like and subscribe before you go. Helps me out just that little bit. As ever, bye-bye.